Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Relentless Goal Achievers podcast. This one is very timely, and I'm just going to jump into it and introduce my guest. His name is Tomer Israeli. With everything that's going on right now in Israel and Palestine, I reached out to my friend and said, hey, you got to come on a show. And here's why I wanted Tomer to come on a show. He's a former special agent and chief security officer at the Israeli Secret Services. That organization is called Shin Bet. Today, Tomer leads Israeli Tactical School, where he teaches executive protection services, SWAT operations, and air marshal courses. Um, and they do all of this with live fire, which is unheard of in the training sector. I had a chance to meet Tomer when I took the executive protection course last year, or maybe a year and a half ago, and it was insane. We learned some Krav Maga skills, how to clear a room, how to handle terrorists and hostage situations. It was awesome. So with us, we got an expert. Tomer, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me. How are you? How is your day?
Oh man, my day's going good. Way better than, most others around the world right now. But Tomer, let me just to get an understanding, Shin Bet, what is the core function of Shin Bet?
So Shin Bet is basically the FBI and the US Secret Service in one agency. So the focus of the Shin Bet is counter-terror. This is the most the main job of the agency, if you want. And besides counter-terror, that is more like counter-terror in relation to what the FBI does, meaning domestic counter-terror, not outside of the border of Israel. There are some circumstances, but the majority is inside domestic. We also provide security protection for diplomatic missions around the world, and also protecting the main symbols of Israel, like the Prime Minister, President, Supreme Court, and others, just to keep it very brief and not,
Got it. Now,
overwhelm you with information. Yeah.
no, I appreciate it. In Israel, every 18-year-old, with minor exceptions, is called to serve in the military. So is Shin Bet a part of the service, or is that something you did after the military?
So every teenager graduate from high school that fit to be in the army is required to serve. It's not it's mandatory, but it's only mandatory for the people that the army wants. So
Got
it's
it.
not across the board. Basically, in the end of the day, it's 10% serves in combat service. The rest is more like behind the desk or helping, supporting the forces. After 3 years of mandatory service for boys, girls does usually different kind of service, a bit shorter. So you have the chance. Some people wants to go beyond the regular service and go to the what we call the Shin Bet or Mossad or other agencies that are service after the army service. So, but you need to remember that even if you don't serve the mandatory service and you are in combat role, you need to serve as a reserve. So anyway, you're going to meet the army a year at least. And if you officer, a bit more. So army is never really something that you stop doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Until of about my age of 45, 50, the army doesn't need you anymore. So, so
Got it.
this is the at least what most people do, and I did it. I did mandatory service as a soldier and also officer. So I did 4 years and reserve 15 years. So this is and then I joined the Secret Service. So or the Shin Bet. So basically, Shin Bet for me was a career choice after trying my luck in the civilian market. It was a later episode, not automatically after the service. Yeah.
I got you. What did you do in the service? Did you see any combat in the service?
Yeah, yeah. So I was, first of all, Israel is relatively a peaceful place. I know now it's not easy to say that, but to see combat, it's not easy to during the regular times. I was lucky or not lucky to be involved with a service that involved also combat in Lebanon in 2006, especially. It was like a war with Lebanon, the second war with Lebanon, actually. So, and I was a team leader for recon team in that war, and the focus was on South Lebanon. This is
Got
this
it.
is the territory of that we fought. Yeah.
Tomer, let me ask you, man. So FBI, right? Like Shin Bet is equivalent to FBI. You're here in the States now. How was it possible that that attack happened on October 7th? Like guys in,
Yeah.
lawnmower chairs flew over and broke through the wall and like what happened in your opinion?
So, so first of all, nobody really knows what happened. The debrief of events like that will take time in order to do it in an organized way, and definitely my abilities to debrief the situation is limited from here.
Mhm.
Even if I was in Israel, it's not something that easy to get access to all the data. But since I live with my people, and people talk, and I have colleagues, and I'm relatively close to the circles that they take that participate in the combat, even in the early hours. I have a broad picture of what happened, and first of all, let's put it in a very clear way. We were surprised, meaning, and you've been in my courses, and you understand it firsthand. If you have the element of surprise in combat, you don't have to be so talented later to win. So initially, and I'm using that this explanation and this example in the training, you can also surprise Mike Tyson with the knockout if he's
That's
not
true.
expecting it. So if he lets you get closer and get you to get used to him coming closer to you day in, day out, eventually when you strike him and you hit the chin, he's going to fall. You're going to get a knockout. So basically, this is what Hamas did to us. They, for a year, prepared for the attack. So it's not something that happened spontaneously or for a year. They trained close to the border. Therefore, we saw them training. But they tested the devices. For example, the explosive devices that help them breach the fence were tested on the actual fence a week before the attack. So the signs were there. But in order to, and also something that we do in the training, if you are complacent and you don't see the signs and you don't give attention to take it seriously, it's going to happen to you. So this is in many ways what happened over there. Now, the rest is history. The moment you let 1,500 ISIS, ISIS people coming into your civilian villages not protected because they overwhelmed the army, right? The army need to protect the civilians, and the army was overwhelmed, so nobody protect the civilians. What happened is basically a massacre, and in the most brutal way, and decapitating heads of kids, raping women, elderly, meaning that sightseeing that you usually see in war, because there are, even in war, there are rules. There's stuff that you don't do. And they are brutal, and they're brutal because I don't want to sound racist. They are simply brainwashed to the way of ISIS, and these people over there simply don't know better, unfortunately. Okay, uh, so this is what happened in brief way. Okay, in a brief way, we were surprised, and because we were complacent. I'll give an example, something that it's very, it's my DNA to be a soldier. So this is what I do. A soldier in the Israeli army or any army is trained to wait for the enemy ready. Makes sense. So one of the things that the most basic that soldiers do, that for example, like me and you brush our teeth in the morning and tie our shoes before we go to work, right? I
Yeah.
know, I see you have more hair than me, so you put your gel or you prepare for the day.
Have it. Yeah.
Now, the most basic thing for a soldier to do is to be prepared at dawn. At dawn, this is known that it's the time for attack because physically the human body is the most vulnerable in the end of the night. In the end of the night, it's where we are the most complacent, if you want. And also, if you attack at dawn or a bit early than dawn, you can also use the element of surprise of the complete darkness that's still there. And when you attack, now, if you have a success, you can overrun also, meaning you are getting into the day from the night. So the night is the element of surprise, and then use the element of surprise. And after that, it's become daytime. You can actually see what you're doing. You don't need the element of surprise anymore, and it can overrun. You can actually clearly see the results and be able to maneuver better. So basically, it's very important to attack at dawn. It's very well-known phenomenon. You know, if you were a soldier, it would not be interesting topic to discuss with you. You will understand the logic. So imagine that the forces over there, the majority of them did not even wake up at dawn. So you have Hamastan, basically ISIS country on your border, 500 meters, very close, right? 500 meters away from the fence is the villages of the civilians, the farm villages that they massacre the women, children, whatever. And the army people did not even wake up for dawn, meaning did not do the basics, you know, the basic, the very basic. I'm not talking about the other stuff, okay, that the Hamas did well. So from a military perspective, all the odds, they set up the surprise element in a very impressive way. Meaning, from trying to analyze it not from the side of the victim and never underestimate the enemy point of view. This is big. This is big. So from here, it's not so easy. From here, you need to retrieve it back while they're holding hostages, and they are already in the farm villages, and they are already in big number, and they are feeling, and they are setting themselves up, meaning in ambush structure, and they are waiting for reinforcement to arrive. Meaning, it's to get it back, to gain the advantage back. It's complicated and required a lot of casualties on our side. Yeah.
I'm sure. But here's the question though. I mean, they were at it for, from 6:30 till 10 something, 11 a.m., going through villages, through that concert was happening. Why not? I'm sure people called the police, not just military. Why did it go on for so long?
So initially, they basically, first of all, overran the army on the border. Okay, so this is what happened there. The army, the forces that need to give immediate response to the villages were overrun. Some of them, because they did not wake up in dawn, some of them slaughtered. They are army people, so I don't want to use maybe terms that belong to maybe it's massacre of civilians, but basically they were attacked in their beds. Some of them not ready even. We spoke of waking up at dawn. It's important to get everything ready. So when you overrun these people, basically now they're in the villages. So this is number one. Number two, other forces that are relatively in the area are really in a small quantity, meaning, and by the way, these are the elites, meaning units like Seret Matkal, the one I was serving in the beginning of my service, and other units like Seret Matkal, respond.
Say that slowly, Seret Matkal.
Yes, Seret Matkal is a unit.
That's the one that Bibi Netanyahu's brother,
right,
was an officer
exactly.
and died in,
yeah.
right? I'm reading his book now. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, what a great book. Okay,
yeah.
sorry, I
So
interrupted.
no, not at all. It's a dialogue, no? Right? This what
Yeah,
I.
yeah.
It's not a monologue, right? Ask whatever you want. So basically, unit like סיירת מטכ"ל, ימ"מ, and others, שלדג, שייטת 13, meaning they are, I just throw at you names in Hebrew that meaning Navy SEALs, Delta Force of the Air Force, שלדג, and Yamam is the Israeli National SWAT. These units have, and it's not a secret, they have ready team readiness mode that they can deploy anywhere in Israel in relatively short period of time. And they need to come to the scene usually after the local force is already take over the situation and maybe freeze it to a certain point. Meaning these units are not really designed to come to a combat zone and deploy on combat zone. It's more like coming, like we discussed in the course, the active shooter. If the active shooter finish everybody and take hostages, this is when the units usually are relevant, these units, after the fact, okay? But because nobody stopped them, it was not isolated. They came with thousands of people, right? In tremendous number. These small teams, and I'm talking about 20 people, 50 people, okay? I'm not talking about hundreds of people. So they were outnumbered in a big way. Even they are special forces, very capable units, tremendous training, okay? Like very similar to what we provide in our courses, right? So capable people, it's still not enough in a sea of, if 5 people, 20 people, 50 people fighting 300, and the 300 are well organized and in tactical position, it's not easy to get them back. Not easy to win, and we had very, very big casualties from these brave, I call them heroes, right? Our heroes, the Israeli heroes that came, although they outnumbered, they came to save lives and fight and did not, they don't take, the mentality of let's go, like in football, something that they simply went for the idea. And so, unfortunately, they took hours because to fight back takes the time it takes. It took 12 hours, 14 hours to get to some of the places. And they're holding hostages and massacring thousands of people. And, it's not kidnapping people meanwhile. So this unit is one of the forces that were involved. And by the way, in an organized way, relatively, right? A unit is coming. Most of the people responding to these events were actually individuals. Could be people with guns at home that came from the army for vacation, running to the streets, and of course, law enforcement that were there, that were trying to fight the sea of Hamas ISIS that simply entered from everywhere, okay? So we had about 350 people out of 1,500 that were first responders that were killed in this event. So
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, Tomer, what constitutes Palestine?
Please define it
Yeah,
better
like
for me.
where is
Yeah.
Palestine? If I look on a map, I don't see Palestine, right? So the way I see it, Palestine is what, the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, or what? How would you define the geographical location of Palestine?
So Palestine traditionally, in the modern times, okay, I'm not talking about the biblical times. Palestine is basically the border of Israel, the way Israel is now, together with the West Bank and Gaza. And what happened is that in 48, we had the independence war. The Palestinians, meaning the people that were in Israel at the time, fought with the Jewish settlements that were also basically moved from Europe due to the Holocaust to establish Israel, meaning the independence war was between Israel, the Palestinians in Israel, and the rest of the Arabic world from both sides, basically all of these, the following countries, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Jordan, even from Iraq, Egypt, of course. So in that independence war, we'll be able to capture most of Israel as known today, okay, minus the West Bank and Gaza.
But
Okay.
before 48, was that area called Palestine?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Palestine and the Palestine and the people in Palestine, it's what's considered to be today the Palestinians. Also Israelis, before Israel was established, also Israelis were carry a passport from Palestine. So they were also considered Palestinians, and all of that happened where the British were colonized Palestine. So Great Britain was the superpower at the time. And in 47, they basically lost the mandate to hold Palestine as a colony, and Israel declared independence. And this is when the independence war happened. So this is Palestine. Palestine is basically Israel. Now, I'm biased. I'm Israeli, okay? But basically, the Palestinians that were there before either flew, meaning become refugees in Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, and Gaza, meaning the people that, let's say, were living in Tel Aviv, okay, and other cities, simply become refugees because they left either by their own initiative, and in some places we also help them, meaning literally put them on trucks and then move them away. So the refugees that you see in these countries that I just mentioned before, these refugees used to be in Palestine back in the day, and they are still, in many ways, feels about Palestine as their homeland.
Got it. And so when you hear people screaming free Palestine, what does that mean?
It means that they want to go back to where they were back in 48. So 48 is that independence war. I don't want to confuse the audience too much, but there was another war named the 6-Day War that we were capturing also the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and Golan Heights. But for the Palestinian conflict, it's only these regions were captured back then, including Jerusalem. And basically, so there is another war or another conflict that they see themselves.
I think I lost Tomer. I'm going to pause and be back as soon as he rejoins recording. All right.
Yeah.
We're back with Tomer.
Yeah. So the Palestinians, they have the right, the way they see it, to go back to where they belong. It's very much any crisis in the world that you see two nations want to compete over one piece of land. In America, it was the Americans, Indians, right? How you call them, the Native Americans,
Native Americans, yeah.
And the rest, the people that colonized America at the time. You can see that the Aborigines in Australia, everywhere, and is problems of colonialism overtaking or taking out other people land, okay, and conquer it, basically establish their own civilization. So Israel is only one region that it happened, but Israel is sensitive because in Israel all the religions are sensitive about Jerusalem and history, especially for Muslims and Christians, for Judaism. So Israel always was a sensitive place in modern times, nothing to do with anything.
For
Yeah,
sure,
so
for sure.
yeah.
So, okay, got it. So free Palestine really means get rid of Israel. Now, as an Israeli, what do most Israelis want for that region?
So first of all, we need to understand that no matter what is my political beliefs, okay, and opinions, there is a very important historical fact that in World War II, the Jewish people, just because they are Jewish, they were block the caller because it's spam. You now, that's it.
All right.
So we were with the Israelis. Why Israelis want to be in Palestine or in Israel? So basically, after the Holocaust, the Jewish people, no matter what their bias was, needed a place to be. Needed a place to be. Basically, Israel is the insurance policy of the Jewish people that it would not be a second Holocaust. History is full of anti-Semitism against Jewish people for thousands of years. It's not something new, but the Holocaust was a phenomenon that even the most cynical people about the Jews felt the need to give them a state. Basically, the United Nations approved the state of Israel according to, without going into too much details, gave the Israeli state in 47 the approval to establish a country, a state of the Jew. And now from here, the borders of Israel were basically were the very existence of that small young country was maybe approved by the United Nations, but the Arabic people fought us to exterminate that small state. So we had to go to war, and the border were initially where they are today after two wars, basically after 48, after 67, two wars, we'll be able to establish the border of Israel as you know it today, more or less, okay, without overwhelm the audience, okay, with the information about history. But so Israel have no other choice. It's a self defense, if you want. It's a avoid extinction, meaning we don't have choice. We have to have the state of Israel. So now, let's say there are two nations. Both of them have their reason to be in Israel, but it's only one piece of land. And this is the conflict. This is why it's not going to be over, ever. It's going to be always a problem. The ability to live together side by side is very, very questioned. Not because either of the sides want to necessarily exterminate each other, but there are so many. The conflict with Palestinian and Israelis is so deep and complex that we need probably we need 10 episodes like that to drill down to the why and who and when, and to find try to reason the idea. Okay, try to put it in a solution. To lean towards a solution. Yeah,
I get it. So I'm listening to Netanyahu's book, and he talks about his father, like when his father, in the 40s, before the state of Israel was established, he was trying to figure out how do you petition the US government and the president to be for that two-state solution or to create a Jewish state. And one of the things that they said was interesting is they found out that anytime you petition any democratic country, you have to do it through, I'm trying to remember how you said it. So when you're petitioning any democratic country to do what it is that you want them to do, you got to do it through showing justice or injustice. And I'm looking at what's happening now. And if we're following that model, Hamas and the rest of the Arab world is kind of winning that battle. I feel like the world has a very short memory. They kind of forgot what happened on October 7th, or maybe they didn't forget, but anytime you turn on the news, they're showing the Gaza Strip and they're showing Palestinians hurt and, you know, dead and crying and like this. That's the only thing the news is focusing on. And so now that's causing the rest of the world an uproar and to go against Israel. And we see that with protests all over Europe, even in the States. It's crazy to see. From your standpoint, like, what do you wish Israel would do differently?
So the war on public opinion is the main battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Israel doing very little relatively to fight that battle. Why? It's an inevitable question that is belong to the history, meaning from the moment I know myself as interested in the global stage and what is Israeli image in the global world when it's related to anything, also the Palestinian conflict. Okay, we're doing a very bad job representing ourselves. Yet the modern world, the Western world, the democratic world, okay, show empathy to Israel at this point of time. It's maybe short term, maybe it's not going to stay with us, this support for the long term, but currently we have the support, and especially the support of the United States. Critical for us in order to get to some sort of no war status, okay? In order to reach to that goal, we need to fight, unfortunately. So basically, this is what Israel can do better. People like me, like you, like the rest of the people that understand the situation, need to keep it simple and simply explain. I think the most important mistake that Hamas ISIS did in the last conflict, that is basically become ISIS. And basically did a big mistake, decapitating kids' heads and all what they do to civilians. This is massacre. Is not, people are not a stranger to pure evil when they see one. And I'm not just talking public opinion, I'm talking also the Arabic themselves, I mean the Muslim Arabic. I don't think that most Muslims want to kill kids and decapitate their heads. Maybe they don't like Israel, maybe they are supporting Palestine, Palestinians' freedom, whatever, but normal people know better, okay? So,
But even
so the
now, you get people that are coming out and saying that didn't happen. You know, Hamas leadership came out, said, well, that's Israel saying that, that's their propaganda. We did not do that. Even though there's pictures, you know, then, well, that's AI generated. You know, there's plenty of proof that shows that their jihadist rocket misfired landing in the hospital. People are still saying, well, we don't know if that's true, right? It's almost as if it feels like there's this energy of not wanting to believe Israel.
Look, first of all, we cannot do anything against stupidity. No, this is something that, you know, it's there all the way. If you have a serious statement and if you're exploring information in a normal way, and let's say you are not biased yet, okay? You are on the fence, you're neutral about it. Most people are, I'm sure. You do your due diligence. You go and check resources. Although the fake news atmosphere, there are still some source of sources that you can actually go and get the picture and get you know, with common sense and perspective of adults. But you know, it's required also the time. It's required time. It's required to make the time to do these investigations. You know, we have one of the contractors that works for me in the projects. I don't want to mention the name. He came to me and asked me, so what's going on now with the Israel and the Pakistanians, the Pakistan people? Meaning, and he's, worked for each other with several years, but he's doing something. He has a small business. He's lives his life, and because of he felt empathy about me. Let's say he was interested to know a bit more, and he brought, of course, I did not re-educate him, and I did not open a deep discussion about the history. But people don't have. They see what they see is the image on the TV, maybe. Maybe that's watch Fox News or CNN, doesn't matter. They see something happening again in Israel. They're fighting again. Why it's not stopping? Why they all the time try to kill each other? And as a neutral person, you're probably going to say, let it just stop. How many people died already? 5,000? Let's stop at 5,000. Let's not move to 10,000. And they don't really care if it's Jewish people or not, or Palestinian or not. They simply wanted to stop, okay? And this is most of the world. Nobody wants to see kids dying on both sides, okay? So this is most of the world. Now, if you are biased also to one side, you may be also brainwashed and biased. So you don't want to believe the other side have some sort of reason to what he does, or the history or whatever. So look, but when you are biased, you take responsibility also. If you are against something, at least know what the hell you're talking about. And
Yeah. Is it true?
Look,
So before 2006, I think 2006 is when Israel gave back the Gaza Strip to Palestinians, correct? Right around that time?
Yes, around that time, yeah.
And what was it like there before that time? Was it mainly Palestinians living there and Israelis living together? Who was that under Israel control?
So basically, it was under Israel control with the Palestinian autonomy due to the Oslo agreements, that they basically managed their own civil life by themselves. Mm-hmm. And Israel have the right to be there also in a certain capacity to protect the Jewish people that were also in the Gaza Strip at the time. So the Gaza Strip had two nations back then, Palestinian and Israelis inside. What Ariel Sharon, the prime minister at the time, did, he took the Israelis out and left the Palestinians to be in Gaza Strip in basically a situation like a state, meaning they've been able to control the life all the way. And this withdrawal from Gaza consider a big win to Hamas, because they've been able to kick out the Israelis from Gaza.
But Hamas was not in charge at that time, right? There was no government for Gaza. And that's what was elected.
No, there was a government. The government was PLO. PLO is the Palestinian Authority.
Yep.
And they lost the election to Hamas after Israeli withdrawal, because Hamas was basically considered by the Palestinians in Gaza as successful compared to the PLO, and they elected Hamas. Now, when Hamas was elected, they took over the country of Gaza and make it Hamastan. What do I mean? Basically, they killed the PLO that were there before. It was not democracy transition of power. When I don't want to go to American politics, but the transition of power, it's a very important democratic stage. It's like an important stage that I lost in the election, I'll give you the power, and now I'm saluting you. You are the commander-in-chief from now on, right? I'm American, so you're the new president of the United States. Even if I did not elect you, I respect the voters' decision. Hamas did not respect anything. They literally killed the PLO or the Palestinian Authority that were there before, because they basically become oligarchy, or basically a form of government that doesn't respect democracy. And until today. Now, from here, it's a long story. Become Hamastan in a meaningful way, basically to the ability to gain so much forces and abilities to gain so much military power that you see what happened in the last few days. This is the results of that mistake of giving back and withdrawal from Gaza. Meaning, if Israel is not there, we cannot control Gaza. We have to be there.
Was there a blockade on the Gaza-Israeli border the second Israel pulled out, or after Hamas was elected?
So we were, until nowadays, supplied all the electricity and the water and other stuff to Gaza for decades.
Yeah.
So it was always a great dependency of the Gaza way of livelihood. You can argue, not good enough, and whatever. But the most basic stuff were there due to the Israel life supporting system. Okay, basically all the yeah. So we did not close any, even if the most harsh conflicts, we did not close the lights and the supply water. It was never the case, okay? And now it's totally changed. Now for the first time, we now no longer we don't provide them water and electricity through our border. Everything is going through the Egypt border for the first time. Meaning, for the first time, Egypt is actually care about doing something for Gaza people, and the United Nations is the sponsor, if you want, of the humanitarian aid. I think it's a good thing. I think it's for the first time. Yeah.
But
for the first time, yeah.
But help me understand, like physically, right now, there's that big wall that Hamas had to blow through to get into the Israeli side. When was that created? And was there always like a blockade? When did they? So the Gaza Strip is a part of Israel, right? It borders, it's southern Israel. Border on the other side is Egypt. But when was the border created between the Gaza Strip and Israel?
So it was there. It was there from the time we withdrew.
From 2006.
Okay. Beforehand, it was also a fence, but as we call in the army, a stupid fence, meaning not electronic or not something that you cannot, you can bypass simply by cutting it, okay? Mm-hmm. The last fence that was there, or the last wall, it's a big project that we conducted that cost Israel something like $4 billion, if I recall. So that small region, it's relatively a lot of money. Gaza Strip is only 20 kilometers over 5.
Yeah.
Relatively small, okay? So that wall was between us and them now, and they got through it. They did not work up at dawn. So, any obstacle can be overcome if nobody... An obstacle is only make everything temporary, can delay you, cannot solve the problem.
Yeah. Why did they put the wall up? Like, why did they need that wall there?
Because in several conflicts, Gaza people either went in tunnels under the fence, like you do in Mexico, and entered the villages and attacked and tried to kidnap soldiers and civilians in the past. So the fence is also dug into the ground deep with sensors also, so we can block future tunnels from entering the border. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the fence is not just up on the ground; it's also underneath. Now, on top of the ground, for some reason, because we thought we can be able to wake up at dawn and do our job as the basic infantry stuff to stop them on the fence. So it was not really created like a wall that hard to penetrate. So they relatively simple to get over the fence, although it's electronic and everything. But if you overwhelm the technology and the cameras and the people don't get up in the morning, you break the fence in several places and overwhelm the army like they did. So
Yeah,
yeah.
got it. No, I was just wondering what was happening that caused to put the fence up. I remember there were a few um suicide bombing situations, and I figured Israel had to put up a border at that point. When you were with Shin Bet, what were some of the kind of terrorist type of acts that you saw happen?
So nothing to do with my service in the Shin Bet because I was serving here in Washington, D.C., in America.
Oh, you were
So
in
my
America.
service, yeah. So my service in the Shin Bet was a security detail officer, whatever, in the embassy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not serving domestic as counter-terror agent. I did not serve in the agency on the intelligence and counter-terror side domestically. Okay. So my experience is basically is the conflict of a civilian or in the army as a reservist officer. Yeah, look, Palestinian and us fighting for decades, suicide bombers in malls, blowing up buses in clubs, in hotels. It's very messy, okay? It's basically Gaza is like a small Afghanistan, if you want, in our border. The south, we have another Afghanistan in our border on the north with Lebanon. Iranian are involved to make all of that happen. So everything is orchestrated from Iran that wants to become nuclear. So basically, it's beyond just the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. There is a regional conflict and even a conflict that may lead to World War III. So it's not just, when people saying, hey, I don't support Israel, da-da-da, it's far away from me, guys. If there is going to be, if the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will not go as it used to be in the past and stay small, every person that goes to fuel his car will see prices increases to some experts say, not me, to a target number of $150 a barrel now compared to close to $100 today. So
Which is
if you
still
think
high.
that it's very high compared to what it used to be, right? $4 a gallon at least. I'm not talking about California, just normal places.
Yeah.
So this is three to four. So the effect on the fuel prices is one, but of course, if China will be involved as superpower against America, because America, I don't know if you know, but they are progress two aircraft carrier forces, Eisenhower and Gerald Ford, two different carriers are now
Mm-hmm.
in the Israeli area.
There are
And
reports the Chinese are too.
yeah, and the Chinese also. So basically, we start to smell World War III here. Of course, I don't think it's going to happen. I think everybody will get their senses back and understand that Israel is actually need to be successful here against the Hamas. Otherwise, this small region, 20 kilometers over 5, will influence the rest of the world.
So
It will
what do
be
you
other people problem. Yeah.
so how do you feel about all this Palestinian civilians that are getting their homes destroyed, that are being forced to head south, and the images that you see? What goes on through your mind as a Israeli?
Look, first of all, I'm 49 years old. I have kids, family. I understand what is to be a parent, and I feel for them as human beings. This is where I see it, but they need to remember one small thing. First of all, they started it now. We did not do that to them. They did it to themselves. They cut the fence. They got inside. They slaughtered our families,
Well,
kids.
we're talking. So,
Yeah.
do you separate Hamas from Palestinian people, or are they all one and the same to you?
I'm more than feel for the non-combatives over there as separated from Hamas. I feel that the Hamas is a regime that took hostage his own people. One, by the way, even if they hate me, even they think that I'm wrong, okay?
Yeah.
But they are also not showed Hamas that they are unhappy, meaning the climax, the climate, the public opinion in the Gaza Strip gave Hamas the green light to do this conflict and other conflicts in the past. So basically, you know, they should pressure Hamas not to have them, to use them as a human shield, you know.
How can they do that though, Tomer? Think about it. Like these are the people that killed their, the old leadership, right? Instead of having a peaceful, like people are afraid. How how can they possibly pressure Hamas?
Okay, so first of all, there are 2.3 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. This is one. So it's a big population, okay? If people simply start to go south to the border with Egypt, they can cross the border. They can cross the border to Egypt and force Egypt to accept them, even temporary, in a refugee camp to avoid any further casualties to non-combatives. Okay, this is very important to do, and I recommend to Gaza people to do it as soon as possible. Go and stay away out of harm. It's very important. Now, if they don't do that, and they're staying over there where they are now, and we will go in eventually, it's not going to end well. So they should know better and go away. Now, Israel created an island inside Gaza that they consider to be like a safe haven. We're not going to bomb you, you go there, and also we push all the humanitarian aid over there also. So if you're going to be there, you'll be like in a shelter. You'll be secure. Right now, if you're staying in the north of Gaza, don't be surprised you're going to get bombed by Israel. Israel gave the warnings. We do that in all the means, we dropping flyers of information, we're calling people, we broadcast on social media, everywhere. They know they need to move. If you're not moving, you are collaborating with Hamas, and then what can we do? It's either us or them. It's either out of them. Unfortunately, it's ugly.
So
It's
what
ugly. I get it.
happens? Let's say Israel wipes out Hamas and they establish, Israeli authority over the Gaza Strip. Do you take down? My personal feeling, maybe I'm just naive, right? Because I mean, I've seen the cartoons. They have this like Mickey Mouse looking bumblebee that talks about killing Jews, and they're showing this to 3 and 4 year olds. Those kids can't differentiate themselves. They don't know what's right from wrong. So since young age, they're being indoctrinated. And then here these kids are, since 2006, if somebody was 5 years old when they were 2006, right now they're of combat male age, right? And this is what they've heard their whole life. I feel like what would help people in Gaza are opportunities for work, opportunities to prosper, opportunities for food and promotion. And so like if Israel took over and they took down the wall and integrated the people and made them as one, because I know, Israel has a lot of Arabs in the Knesset. Israel has Arabs living amongst Israelis, serving in the Israel army. I've seen that. I have family that lives in Israel as Jews, not Arabs, but I feel like if they did that in a Gaza Strip, after 2 generations or so, people would be integrated. I think. Am I being naive?
I don't think that you are naive. I think that you are reasonable person with reasonable solutions. But reason is not the only parameter that is here in this game. You are right with all of your assumptions. I'm very far from offering a solution here. I don't know the solution. I know that they need to be there. They need to be there, and we need to be here. Meaning, it has to be a separation between us to integrate 2.3 million Palestinians just in Gaza into Israel as a state will change the demography and change the democracy, Israel will not become a majority
That's true.
anymore. So this is a technical problem, okay, that we cannot change. Not to integrate them in a second as a second tier of residents, it's also apartheid. I mean,
Mhm.
it's create a situation that they are second class, like a caste system, okay, like happen in other countries. And so it's not also democracy. And you mentioned also the problem that they feel about themselves as refugees that have the right to go back to establish themselves as they were before 48 in Israel, therefore kick us out. So basically, you want to bring in someone that want to kick you out. So you don't just integrate peaceful people that wants to establish themselves in a better life. You put inside yourself something like basically the enemy.
That
And
doesn't
from
want you alive.
and this is, by the way, the Hamas objective. Meaning, if you, I want to keep it simple, okay, and not avoid bias as much as I can. The Hamas purpose or reason to exist is to destroy Israel.
What
And
was
this is
PLO's
ISIS.
purpose? I mean, Yasser Arafat, that's what he wanted too, right?
Same, but they are not. They did not conducted the war crimes that ISIS, the Hamas just did, but their intentions are the same. So
I remember
basically,
I
yeah,
remember reading, I think there was a woman elected, one of the very first leaders of the PLO. And the reason she got elected was because she said something along the lines of, I already send, if you elect me, I've already sent 3 of my sons to die because they were suicide bombers. And I have 7 more to send or something along those lines to kill Israelis.
yeah, but I don't want that narrative to be the only one out there. There are also good Palestinians that doesn't want anything but decide to live their life peacefully. I think the problem is that as a whole, currently Hamastan has only one objective, and this is the current status. To be able to plan the day after, okay, after we conquer, after we kill Hamas regime and they're not longer capable of harming us, okay, we need to establish a, a government, okay, with the help of the United Nations, if you want, okay, the rest of the world support, that will be basically like Japan after World War II. Or meaning they need to have constitution, they need to have laws, you need to be very strict about what they can do and not do. And I don't know if you know, but America basically changed the curriculum in the schools, and Japanese people could not learn about the history and all kinds of stuff in order
I didn't
to,
know.
it's very interesting to grow a generation of better Japanese, if you want, re-educate. I know it sounds communist approach, like Mao Zedong doing in the camps, or Russia, communist Russia in the gulags, okay, in Siberia, but basically to re-educate the population that the war as an option is not an option. This is the America did it well. Japan did not go to war for 70 something years.
And prospered like crazy.
And prospered, yeah.
Yeah,
Why not? Why? Hopefully, if, Gaza is not bigger and not smaller than Singapore. They
yeah,
can be Singapore,
they can
but
be.
not with this ideology. It's not going to happen. So
No,
something
all
need
the
to
money.
change.
Yeah, yeah. Once you free people from Hamas and give them opportunities, rebuild, provide jobs, get some trade going, they can see a better way of life. The ideology will take a longer period of time. I wanted to ask you, Tomer, with man, I wanted to ask you a question and it went away. I don't know why.
I can ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why you have blue background in your room? Everything is blue because of what is the decoration reason for?
So
It's a
usually my podcasts are blue, but today I wore a blue and white shirt, and it's blue for Israel. And yeah, I'm pro Israel all the way. Uh, so yeah, today it correlates. But if you watch any of my podcasts, majority of them are blue like this. And quite sometimes when I have a woman who is a guest on my show, I ask her, "What's your favorite color?" And I've got pink and I've got green, and so I would change the color. I got this remote; I can change colors of my room.
I
Um,
was curious. It looks creative, so I want to ask you.
Thank you, thank you. Hey, real. So I remembered what I wanted to ask you. What was the gun policy or gun control policy in Israel? Because I noticed now they are pushing for citizens to get weapons and get training. What was it before October 7th?
So it was very, very hard to get access to a weapon in Israel. As simple as that. Second, we don't have constitution. Second Amendment is not. We don't have it, and even I remember as an officer in reserve before the Secret Service, in order to get a gun, I need approval of the battalion commander to basically sponsor me. It was very hard to get a gun. And just talking about pistol, not rifle, nothing like you see in America. And yeah, look what happened. Civilians did not have weapons to fight the ISIS people back, because we have people that know what they're doing. You know,
Oh yeah,
people like me with my skill set are hundreds of, maybe thousands of people with my skill set. I'm nothing special in America. I'm the only one with the school, let's say. But but in Israel, they are not rare. So if all of them have access to rifles, Hamas people will have a very big problem to enter anywhere. No, every city have people like me and better than me. Okay, so
so you're
yeah,
saying if they had less gun laws and people were armed, less people would have died.
we need to arm the Jews. Like we American are armed, Israeli need to be armed to the teeth and capable, because we live in the most dangerous neighborhood in the world, and we have a real enemy, not a joke, that want to slaughter the Jews, like what happened in Holocaust, and that's it. It's enough. It's enough. We have to be able to learn from mistakes, even in the basic level.
Yeah.
Have guns. It's basic.
And so when Tomer says his skill set, let me just share with you something that I watched him do, and I have a video of you doing it too. And by the way,
Okay.
if you say, "Hey, send me the video or post the video," I'll post it. It's about a minute long, and it's during our training at Israeli Tactical School in Florida in Okeechobee. And Tomer's teaching us how to have gun control. So literally, you got on one foot, you held the pistol with two hands. So the I guess that's the index finger was on the trigger, and just the thumb was holding the back. The three other fingers were straight out, stood on one hand, and from about I mean, it wasn't a far distance, but maybe 10 feet away, you shot that pistol. And I still remember you saying every bullet like the first bullet. And I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. And next thing you know, you keyholed 5 shots, like 5 rounds went into one hole while standing on one foot and shooting with two fingers, not even properly holding the pistol. So when he's talking about skill set, there's a very special skill set here. These guys are legit warriors. And I notice now you're providing some training courses for civilians. Like typically Israeli tactical is known for military, police, special forces, units like that. But I just saw you advertising for regular civilians. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there.
So basically, for Jewish community and house of worships, also Christians, meaning people that have security teams inside and they are with potential become a victim for hate crimes like we now suffered. So I'm volunteering my time for free, meaning I'm not charging any fee for my time. The cost is cost of the course, meaning to have the place and et cetera, what we need, the logistics. So instead of 650, that this is the regular price for one day, we're now offering 150. This is when it's not involved profit at all. Okay, so this is the price for teams. Why is that? Because I want basically in every house of worship, in every synagogue, to have a team that can coordinate, that know how to fight together. It's very important to overwhelm, because the element of surprise is on the attacker side. If we don't have the ability to work as a team, let's say I go and shoot the security guy, the first one I see, you basically kill the whole synagogue. From here, you simply go and massacre people. So it's important to have more than one and be able also to work together as a team. So they will be able, for example, not shoot each other, coordinate the movement forward, become more effective, and also get the training to the next level. We're doing our courses to avoid shooting non-combative. So basically, it's a 3-day seminar that the highlight of the seminar is to be able to shoot only the bad guys together as two agents and to achieve the goal. And why two? Because, if you do two, you can do three, and etc. So basically, to coordinate two is the most important layer, that after that you can increase and establish more. So this is for teams. Okay, very, very low cost course, and the level is, as you experience, is relatively high. In 3 days, we can achieve that realistically with average people. And of course, we have the other courses that we offer that people can, if they're looking for self-defense courses, also from Jewish community and house of worship, if they want to be armed. Of course, I highly recommend with the consent of the community, meaning that people will aware that they are, etc., etc. I think the training that we provide is relatively good, because basically we teach the civilians exactly the skill sets of the Israeli Shin Bet, basically how to intercept and neutralize active shooter. So it's an active shooter training, pure active shooter training, live fire, with all the safety guidelines, all the stuff that we do. You will read the course, you are aware of it. Very strict, to achieve that goal of protecting the community. I see that as a reserve service. I'm here in the States. I'm above the age of service. Instead of loading magazines for the soldier in the front, I'm teaching the community to protect themselves here in America. I think it's important. It's what I can do relatively good. So this is the effort of Israeli Tactical School at this point of time, given the circumstances.
I got to tell you, you do a great job. I mean, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, and going through your course was incredible for me. I learned so much from you, Tomer. And some of the guys in that course were just top notch too. You got Special Forces Army guys, you had some SWAT team operators from the local police departments. So yeah, here's what I'll tell you for the listeners. Tomer's course is going to help you be in charge of protecting you, your family, and your community. Because when shit hits the fan, and if you are unarmed and you're relying on potentially police getting there, by that time it's too late. If you're at a synagogue, if you're at a church and you're getting attacked, and by the way, let's not tiptoe around the reality here that we've let in millions of people over the last 3 years into the USA. Some of them were caught at the border, and they're directly connected with terrorist organizations who, if they're screaming death to Israel, I guarantee you they're screaming death to America. I guarantee you they're burning Israeli flags, they're burning American flags. They can't tell democracy is democracy, and they don't want that alive. So with that said, check out israelitactical.com, or is it israelitacticalschool.com?
israelitactical.com.
israelitactical.com. Check out Tomer. His trainings are amazing. And Tomer, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being here with me today, man.
You're amazing, and looking forward for any other podcast if you want in the future.
Absolutely. Bye,
Thank you
everybody.
for everything. Bye bye.
Hey.